Hello, today I'd like to talk about a really lovely community art festival that took place in my community over the last couple of weeks. It's called the Stride Community Art Festival. One of the things that I did as part of the festival is I moderated a panel discussion session. And I initially thought that I would do most of the talking during this video, but when I was doing the editing, I realized that there were some really beautiful things that people said during the panel session that really speak to some of the artwork that was part of the festival. And in some places, I'm going to be sharing the words of some of the other participants. One of the first things that I did was sign up for Jenny Johnson's Gimme Shelter project. It was billed as a blanket fort experience, and I expected a really cozy, contained structure. And I was really surprised at the single piece of cloth hanging high above the ground. And I'd like to let Ariel's words from our panel discussion speak to this piece.
The school I teach at is an inner city school, and one of the big issues in our community right now is homelessness. And so these projects that we talk about and what kids bring up in their own, like by their own virtue of lived experience, is poignant and pertinent. There's one art class I'm in right now, and there's a boy from the Congo who arrived in Canada a year ago. In the same class is a boy from Syria who arrived in Canada 2 years ago. In the same class as two Indigenous kids, and in the same class as another, a couple kids of European settler descent. And that's my class, 6 of them. So, we're talking about big ideas, and all of their ideas are big. All of their ideas are big. And so to offer projects to them that just allow them to respond through the lens, and it's in a response to an idea that they are working on themselves, that they need to have some kind of control over or lens that they look through. And it's quite beautiful, like watching their art evolve in that context. And I'm quite privileged to be the one to kind of like facilitate that for them. So I think that the only way for some of these kids into the big ideas that they want to express or they need to think about is through art, is through mark making, is through, abstract expressionism.
Another beautiful piece of art that I discovered in the back alley as part of this festival is this gorgeous mural, which is on a wall behind the local thrift shop. Here are a couple of the other murals that I noticed as I was walking down the street going to look at the other artwork that was on display in some of the businesses. I really enjoyed Dorothy Doherty's abstract landscapes that she had on display, and I thought that the reflection of the street scene added an interesting element to this to my photographs. And here's a piece that Dorothy sent me for my 2020 Postcards project. Another local community artist is Bill Thompson. Interestingly, the first time I saw an artist trading card was in an exhibit that Bill Thompson had organized at the Port Moody Art Gallery many, many years ago. Watercolor paintings by Kemi Ito, just exquisite. I love them. Another surprising thing, as I was looking at them, I recognized her art style, and I realized that she had come to our Magpie's Nest community art journaling sessions that we used to hold at the Hastings Library. And here's a piece that she left behind for us. The other pieces that she left behind were included in the self-reflection mirror that we gave as a gift to the library. Another one of my self-reflection mirrors was part of the Stride Festival, and I let Kathy's words speak to that piece.
Well, I'd like to share what it was like for me as a student having my art class. I just loved drawing. And when I got to high school, I was a very lonely kid. I was a loner. I didn't know how to mix in, and except an art class. That place, that was my happy place. And it's so much so that on my lunch hour, I that. I went in and hid with the art teacher, and he would share his lunch with me, and I would learn even more about art, right? And what everybody was saying tonight is so very true. It's such an outlet to express oneself, one's soul, and your brain and your body and everything does things differently. It's just different. It's a space that you fill with you, and it expands everything, your mind, your feelings, your soul.
I also included many of the postcards that I've received for the 2020 postcard project in the Stride Festival. I really like that you can go into the cafe and read the back of all the postcards. One of the Stride Festival organizers, Carolyn Sullivan, had sent me these really intriguing photographic art. They're very interesting. I like the way she plays with shape and form and juxtaposes interesting and thought-provoking images against each other. There were many surprising things to discover during the festival. When you head out to a local park, you don't usually expect to see windows there. And I thought that Winnie's words about reframing and how to think about art were particularly relevant here.
I think especially as a non-artist, but as a former educator. But I think what's really helped me is to shift the thinking from like art and the product of art, of artistic practice, to the creative process. And so when speaking and working with educators who don't have an arts background, I think framing the practice of creativity might make things less intimidating. I think then it's less about product and much more about the journey of being creative.
There were so many events, interesting events going on during the festival. I wish I would have had time to take in more of them. I did manage to squeeze in 2 workshops. The first one was this neurographic workshop. Neurographic art is most definitely about process rather than product. While it is mainly about the process and being present, sometimes the results can be quite interesting as well, and I'm really quite thrilled with how my piece turned out in the end. And here are some examples of Tammy's art that she had on display. I particularly love her Shakespeare fish. This bright and colorful collection, I think, is just really quite lovely. And Tammy also sent in this postcard for my 2020 postcard project. The second workshop I took was a watercolor Valentine's card workshop led by Anna Francesca Haas, and I participated in this workshop from my own studio, and Rebecca Heil had some interesting words to say about studio habits.
That when we work in the studio, we're not just working on I don't know, a piece, but we're encountering so many things on the way that are easily transferable to how we deal with anything in our life. So, I mean, inquiry-based learning works so well with the arts, and now we have that new curriculum. It's just the perfect opportunity that the arts can go into everything. The arts allow us to imagine things that don't necessarily exist yet.
And I'll just leave you with one final quote, and I paraphrased it slightly. Art has the role in life of helping people become more like themselves rather than more like everyone else. And I'd like to thank everybody who worked together to make this happen. All the organizers, the artists, the businesses, the sponsors, everyone that worked together. It was really a fantastic event.